It is time to review the Pixel 3. Now you might be wondering why are we reviewing this device in 2022, a device that came out all the way back in 2018. Well, let's go for a trip down memory lane. Back in 2018, Samsung's flagships were the S9 Plus and the Note 9. They both offered dual cameras, they both offered 6GB of RAM, and they both offered variants with 128GB internal storage, while also offering a slot for expanding your memory via the microSD card. They both had the headphone jack as well at that time, and they had a RAM that amounted to 6GB. Pixel 3 on the other end didn't have those flashy specs. It had a single camera at the back, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage that was non-expandable. If you wanted a higher GB variant, you'd had to pay extra at a time when they were already charging you $700 for the base 64GB variant. In all fairness, it was hard to justify the asking price. So predictably, the phone didn't sell well. Fast forward to 2022, you can actually get this device for approximately $180. And in Pakistan here, you'll find one around 22 or 21,000 in good condition. Considering all other options, I don't think that you can find any phone that can deliver the experience that this phone gives you. However, there is one fatal flaw that will stop you from buying this phone. Let's take a deep dive into the phone and look at all of its features and how they have aged over time. Let's talk about the design. Well, in my humble opinion, it is a great looking phone. This white variant looks super clean. The frosted back glass is actually very smooth to the touch and gives a silky feeling. The top half of the glass is glossy, giving it a dual tone feel. If you would remember the Pixel 2, there was actually sharper contrast. They had dialed it down for a more cleaner aesthetic, and I think that worked out well. The left side of the phone is completely plain. The bottom of the phone houses the SIM card tray and the USB-C port. The right side has the volume rocker and the power button. The power button has a beautiful accent of a minty green color, which I quite like. The buttons are tactile, and despite the extended use period of 4 years, they still feel very good. The top of the phone has the secondary microphone, and well, that's about it. So, a very clean phone that is well built. The frame of the phone is made up of aluminium. The back, as I said before, is a dual tone glass finish, frosted silky finish in the bottom half, and the top half has the glossy glass panel. The fingerprint is located at the back, as you can see, a capacitive fingerprint scanner, and it's quite fast and located at a very convenient location. You can always access it. It is right where you'd expect it to be. On the back you can see the single camera here along with the dual tone flash. Now Google had an ace up its sleeve. The front of the phone has 2 selfie cameras, and they were actually criticized for that because they gave 1 camera at the back but 2 cameras on the front. So you might wonder what the second camera does. It is basically an ultra wide camera, allowing you to fit more people into 1 selfie, and that was actually a good concept, only if they had followed the same for the back. The phone has a stereo speaker setup. The front firing speaker is at the top, and you can see the bottom firing speaker here. The audio it delivers is superb, good quality, and you can actually feel the clarity of the sound that it provides. Now let's talk about the display. This is a 5.5 inch 1080 by 2400 Full HD OLED display. Now this is absolutely tiny by modern standards, but it is, in my opinion, a piece of art. Sharp, vivid and accurate. The screen in regards to quality ticks all the right boxes. It is clocked at 60 Hz, but do not worry. It is actually quite smooth, and I daily drive a Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro with 120 Hz on at all times. Dropping back to this phone and using it still feels super smooth, and I actually do not miss the 120 Hz display. It is all down to the smooth experience that Google provides with its software. Brightness is one area where this phone can be improved on, but under direct sunlight everything is still pretty legible. Now, a very underrated thing that people usually overlook are the haptics of a phone. The haptics can make and break your experience. This phone has excellent haptics. The vibrating motor is crisp and while typing, you actually feel the joy of typing on this phone. What more can you ask for? From a phone that now costs 20,000, it gives you a flagship experience and you're not reminded of using a cheap phone while typing on this device. Now let's talk about the size. The 5.5 inch is actually ideal for texting, calling someone, or for day-to-day use. And I actually miss this form factor. It's so portable, and I miss those days when you'd just put the phone in your pocket and forget about it. These days, phones are becoming gigantic with each passing second, and you are reminded of that when you have your phone inside your pocket, as they usually do not fit. Watching YouTube isn't the best experience usually, but I can still live with it. Let's talk about the performance. We have the Snapdragon 845 that is operating as the heart of this old man. And guess what? It works just fine. While using this device, there is basically no lag, no stutter. Everything works pretty smooth. Games work well. I'm not a gamer again, but you can actually play games without any hassle. However, as I stated before, the 4GB of RAM is not enough. You will notice that most of the apps aren't retained well, and when you switch back to them, they have to reopen. Now we're diving into the software experience this phone provides, and I have 3 words for it. Stock Google goodness. Everything is where it should be. I'm running Android 12 on it, and everything just glides. The new UI redesign is excellent, and I really love the new notification shade. You can select the accent colors according to your background. The customization options on Android 12 are countless, and it is definitely the right step in a catalog of boring iterative Android updates. Now, we have looked at everything but the best feature that this phone provides, the camera itself. Now, it is a camera that they have been carrying on from Pixel 2, a 12 megapixel shooter with an aperture of 1.8. The main camera has OIS along with dual tone LED flash. So how was the camera quality? Even for that time, it was quite mind-blowing, and to this date, it can hold its own, even against modern flagships. The colors are neutral, with a slight punch to them, without overdoing the saturation. The noise is less. The dynamic range is absolutely excellent thanks to the HDR algorithm, and what more can I say? It is just the best camera experience that you can find on the device beneath the price bracket of $300. You'd be hard pressed to find a better camera than this. Now let me share some camera samples with you. Now this is the first sample, and you can actually notice the excellent dynamic range. The highlights are not overblown, the details are well preserved, and everything seems to be in focus. The corner softness does exist, but it is minimal. The noise is a bit high, but I'll make this trade-off when it comes to getting more details in return. The same can be said about the second sample. Again, the colors are punchy and true to life. There is no oversaturation, and the dynamic range is again as immaculate as ever. All in all, the primary camera takes absolutely breathtaking photos even after 4 years. However, it still does not excuse them for not having a secondary camera. They could have added a telephoto lens, but according to them, software can do everything, and they added a feature called Super Res Zoom, which is better than digital cropping, but it is still not better than a dedicated telephoto lens. And an ultra-wide camera on the back would have been even better. Now the front paints a different picture. It has 2 cameras, an 8 megapixel f1.8 wide camera and an 8 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide camera without any autofocus. Let's take a look at the selfies now. Now in my first picture, you can actually see the texture of my skin. Now the fur on my skin look absolutely spot on, but you can feel the lack of a high resolution sensor here, as the amount of detail captured isn't quite groundbreaking. Now when I shift it to the ultra wide camera, you can actually see the difference. The dynamic range is being handled well, but again I'd say that the use of a high resolution sensor would have yielded better results. All in all, I think it is acceptable from a phone that now costs only 22,000 rupees or $200. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. The one reason that might make you want to skip this one. The battery. This phone came out 4 years ago, and finding a brand new sealed device might be as hard as finding a needle in a haystack. Thing is, this phone had a 2915 mAh battery to begin with, which was already minuscule. Any used device would have suffered from a significant amount of wear and tear. This tiny battery would have already taken a beating, and what you get in return is an empty tin can. Well, mine is at least. Every day I have to charge this device 3 times. Here's the screen on time figure, which by the way isn't an accurate measurement, but still you can see for yourself how much suffering this device has endured. If you are after a device that can last you a day, this isn't it. In conclusion, the thing is, you can get a Pixel 3 for around 20,000 rupees. In USA, you can find one for around $160 to $170. So for that price, you get a flagship level camera that still holds its own to this day, a haptic motor to die for, a brilliant screen, and excellent audio quality. But you don't get is the battery. Now, if you are after a phone that you can rely on dependably, you might want to look somewhere else. But if you can live by charging this device 3 times daily, this is the right phone for you. Not to mention the extra perks that being a flagship brings with it. For example, IP68 water resistance, wireless charging. You won't find these features in devices below 50,000 rupees or even below 80,000 rupees or below $600. So yes, if you just want to have the flagship experience without selling your kidney, I can't tell you of a more cheaper alternative. Get the Pixel 3 and maybe get another device on which you can depend. You'll get the flagship experience that you're after, and you don't have to pay $1,000 for that. See you in the next video.